Coming at you from Bellingham, Washington. This is Two Nuts in the Sack. I'm Julie.
I'm Gavin.
And what do we want?
Time travel!
And when do we want it?
That's irrelevant!
Today we're going to talk about time travel. The space-time continuum in physics is space-time is any mathematical model which fuses into 3 dimensions of space and the 1 dimension of time into a single 4-dimensional manifold. Space-time diagrams can be used to visualize relativistic effects, such as why different observers perceive where and when events occur differently.
And that's a lot of words, but it is scientifically provable that we should be able to, with the proper amount of energy, travel through space and time.
Dun dun dun!
Albert Einstein, Nathan Rosen, Stephen Hawking, a really wackadoodle man named Frank Tipler. They all thought that time travel was possible and proved through various mathematical models that time travel is in fact possible. Probable, not so much. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't it doesn't mean that it's not possible. We just don't have the proper tools to be able to do it. But scientists have gone down this rabbit hole for years, thousands of years. There's been stories, books, movies that have been made according to this theory that time travel is possible. Technically, we're all time travelers. Okay. Technically, we're all time travelers. Every moment that we live, we are, in fact, traveling through time. We live on this big Earth, which is basically a gigantic spaceship that hurtles through time and space. But, speaking in time travel, my favorite theory has been Doctor Who. His view of time can best be summarized in a quote by David Tennant, and it was that people assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. But basically, it means that there's a vast number of outcomes that can happen from any event to any event. It's like let's go for the next one. Back to the Future, when Marty McFly changed time and we progressed in a similar timeline that was off by maybe just a couple of percent because only one or two things changed, but that caused a bigger ripple in the timeline and bigger things happened.
Let's talk about speed. How fast did Marty McFly have to go to make time travel speed?
It was 88 miles an hour.
88, that's what I thought.
But they also had to produce 1.21 gigawatts of power. And it led to what's called the Godfather paradox, which is when, just like Marty McFly, your mom hits on you and you actually do the deed and therein become your own father.
That's just gross and wrong.
Honestly, and quite impossible. But I mean, if it stays in a continuous time loop, it sort of works. So long as you go back in time and nail your mom, you can be your dad.
Wow, mind blown.
But it's really, I mean, as crazy as it is, it does seem to be able to be worked out in our physical world. If we had enough power and enough ingenuity, we could actually be able to travel through time. The
Speak.
numbers work out. There was a physicist named Nathan Rosen who kind of set this whole thing into motion just by crunching numbers. He had like sort of a flight of fancy, but he did it all with actual math, and it is possible. But the energy expenditure could be such that even if you were able to time travel, the energy expenditure would be such that it could demolish the time space continuum as we know it. So, first time you go out and try time travel, it actually destroys the time space continuum. So, yes, you achieve time travel, but to what end? You destroy the universe.
Well, let's think about speed here. Like, how fast would you have to go to be able to achieve time travel?
You would literally have to go faster than the speed of light.
See, the fastest we've accomplished is Apollo 10, which a crewed vehicle went 24,791 miles per hour. That is the fastest we've gone on Earth.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, you can't, according to Einstein's theory of relativity, you can't go faster than the speed of light. Like, that's the maximum achievable time. But then there's also many like physics experiments and just thought experiments where if and you were to travel at the speed of light, your age progression would slow down. And so if you were to travel faster than the speed of light and you went 4 light years away, by the time you got back, if you, let's say, well, it's based on twins. So one twin is an astronaut, the other twin stays here on Earth. The one twin goes faster than the speed of light, travels for 50 years. He comes back after those 50 years, and because he was traveling so fast, it only took it, it took less time, and he aged less than the 50 years that progressed here on Earth, because it's basically like he's gone and comes back in the blink of an eye for him, but 50 years has passed here on Earth. And so
Wow.
his twin would be 50 years older than he was.
That's an incredible thought.
I know. It's I still can't really wrap my head around it. Like, hardly anybody can really wrap their head around any of this stuff.
Well, there's so many things. There's like a multiverse and interdimensional, just so many things.
Well, yeah, because I mean, if you were to travel like back in time, anything that you change could have an inherent effect on anything else. So you can't just be. You'd have to be a conscious observer. Wherein, if you went back in time, you would pretty much just have to like stay in like a stasis bubble and just sort of watch shit that was happening and make sure that nobody saw you. Because if somebody was like, holy crap, there's a big spaceship just sitting there, and that in and of itself could change the course of history.
Right.
So that, like, I think traveling back in time is way more complex than traveling forward in time.
See, to me, I feel like it's opposite because the future isn't created yet.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess therein lies the rub. Because yeah, because if you were to travel forward in time, you would only be able to progress on the timeline that you were consistently that you existed in when you left.
Think about Hot Tub Time Machine, man. They just went in a jacuzzi and they're like, ooh, we're going back in time. That's like a nice way to travel.
It is the most comfortable method of time travel. It's
Way
much better
comfy.
than like in Terminator.
Going naked?
Oh yeah,
Stark
gotta
naked?
go naked. Gotta just because anything that you had on you would just like burn up anyway because of the release of energy, and that's why it burned the perfect sphere where they just
Speaking of
appeared.
Terminator, they never actually show or really tell you how they actually do time travel. That's something they really don't explain it in that movie.
Well, it was a temporal displacement device. They did mention it, but it was kind of just in passing. And so temporal displacement is basically you take a small bubble and you move that bubble through space time so that when you reappear in the timeline, that that bubble is basically like a bubble of wherever you came from. I mean, like it leads to other discrepancies. It's like, well, what if there were diseases, or the air quality was bad, so when he comes
Like
back and
12 Monkeys.
yeah, and the bubble pops and it releases Armageddon.
Well, like think about 12 Monkeys and how like where they're at the future, the air is bad and such. Remember that movie?
I do remember that movie, Bruce Willis.
Yes, Bruce Willis. So good.
But so basically, yeah. That's temporal displacement. I mean, it kind of like goes with, again, going back to Doctor Who, because his vehicle was the TARDIS, which stands for time and relative dimension in space.
How fast do you think the TARDIS went?
Technically, the TARDIS doesn't move. The TARDIS, it's instantaneous time travel and
Oh,
temporal displacement. So the TARDIS never left the home planet of Doctor Who.
what?
The universe itself moved around. And so the
Wow.
TARDIS never moves, doesn't fly. It just stays in one spot. It can fly, but it stays in one spot. And the universe and time move around it, and so it appears
Right.
in the relative dimension.
I just want to say sorry about the coughing. I'm getting over the flu, so I apologize.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Anyways, what's
So,
next in your chapter, Gavin?
so basically, time travel possible. The math absolutely mind-boggling, but it is possible, and the smartest people on the planet have always sort of thought that, yeah, this is possible. It's not with the technology that we have now, but someday we could reach a point where we could actually do this,
Right.
because they've noticed like black holes is like can bend the time space continuum. And so if you were in the center of a black hole, you would age slower than somebody who was on the outside of that black hole, because time and space don't really exist there.
Wow.
It's very weird.
That's fascinating, babe.
But it's so much a sound theory that in June of 2009, Stephen Hawking, who pretty much undisputed like the smartest person on the planet, threw a party for time travelers. And he didn't publish the findings of that until well after the date. I think he published in 2013 his his letter to time travelers where he cordially invited them to a party on June 28th, 2009. He gave them the appropriate time, the appropriate coordinates. He even had a bunch of booze and hors d'oeuvres and everything ready for time travelers to come and visit him. But nobody came.
Wow.
So
Poor guy.
yeah. Either time travel doesn't exist or time travelers are dicks. Like, fuck you and your stupid little party. I'm not going to go to you and share the secrets of time travel.
Well, what do you believe? Fact or fiction? Please give us your input. We'd love to hear from you.
And just remember, time travelers are dicks. And if that's not a kick in the sack, I don't know what is.
This is Two Nuts in the Sack, signing off. Good night.